Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, it's Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to Bat Force Radio. We have got joining us this week, we've got Dunk.
What up?
And we've got Grandpa Batman.
Howdy.
And I'm Robin Cross. And this is going into our Better Late Than Never category. We are going to have a dive into 1995's Batman Forever, starring the late, great Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Chris O'Donnell, Nicole Kidman, etc., etc. A huge cast. And in light of us losing Val Kilmer on April 1st of this year, we're just going to give Batman Forever a little due. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, all right. You know, anyone that follows me on Instagram or used to knows that
oh man,
my account is gone, but starting fresh again. How you doing, Dunk?
Can't complain, man. You know, life's okay. In the U.S., we have a couple of things to worry about, but let's talk about Batman.
Yeah, I've noticed that you guys have some complications.
Always.
But yeah. So I figured, I know you guys got to do some rewatching to reacquaint yourselves with the Joel Schumacher Batman Forever, but I thought maybe to get us started, I was looking at some things around the internet, and this is just kind of interesting to start off with some opinions. I found this article on CBR. It's from a few years ago. Yes, from back in 2020. But this article is 10 awesome things you didn't know about Batman Forever. So I'll just, I'm going to read this off to you guys and just kind of get your genuine reactions to hearing some of this stuff. You know, maybe you already knew it, maybe you didn't, maybe you say that's bullshit, but yeah, let's just see how it goes.
There we go.
So number 10 is Arkham Asylum makes its big screen debut. So this is apparently the first time that we got Arkham Asylum in a live action film.
Definitely didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it had been around in the comics since 74, and it was a huge part of some really big stories like Grant Morrison, Dave McKean's Serious House on Serious Earth. Obviously, the video games would put a big focus later on Arkham Asylum, but yeah, hadn't gotten any love in the movies. And another live action debut was Two-Face from Tommy Lee Jones, but that is only because in the 66 series there was a Two-Face episode that was written that we just didn't get.
There was a comic that came out in the 66 series that was, basically the unreleased TV show.
Yeah, I believe it was called The Lost Episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, we should have had Two-Face long ago. What'd you guys think of Two-Face showing up for the first time?
Well, there was a little controversy with this as well because there was an actor switch, because Harvey Dent was Billy D. Williams, portrayed by Billy D. Williams in 89. And Tommy Lee Jones was cast, at Schumacher's behest, for this film. I guess he had worked with him previously in a movie, and Tommy Lee Jones, I mean, he's probably got a little bit more of a draw as far as his name and resume than Harvey D. Williams. But It's kind of
Billy
weird.
D. Williams, yeah.
Billy D. Williams. Yeah. What did I say? Harvey D. Williams?
Yeah. It's
Edit that
a
out.
Freudian slip. No, we won't.
Harvey-
No, we won't.
He's not wrong.
Harvey D. Williams.
But you clever son of a bitch, though, you segued straight into the next point. Number 8 on the list is Billy D. Williams was paid to not be in the movie. So apparently, because obviously Billy D. Williams was known for being Lando Calrissian, and in Batman '89 he was Harvey Dent. He wasn't prominently featured, but he was there, and so Harvey Dent is destined to become one of Batman's greatest foes, Two-Face. Billy D. Williams and his agent knew this too, and that's why they made sure that the actor's contract stipulated that he would play Two-Face in a future movie if the future movie was going to feature the villain. Joel Schumacher felt that Williams wasn't right for his version of the Scarred Rogue, but Warner Brothers still had to pay Williams to not be in the movie.
Wow.
That's some lawyering shit.
Yeah. Winning.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
Yeah, got paid to not be in a movie. I wasn't in the movie, and I didn't get paid.
We suing.
Let's see. Number 7 is just that Tommy Lee Jones made the movie for his son. Tommy Lee Jones was already huge. Yeah, so apparently he went into it because his, at the time, 11-year-old son said that Two-Face was his favorite comic character.
Oh, snap.
Tommy Lee Jones was the second billed actor on the title screen. First, of course, you had Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
But I had always read where there was some tension between him and Jim Carrey on screen because, this was Jim Carrey kind of at his prime there when he was coming into, Hollywood, making a name for himself. He had come off
he would
TV show
In Living Color,
and then he had jumped to the big screen, and it was almost like Tommy Lee, from what I've read, is that he kind of felt like he was stealing his thunder a little bit in a way, and was Tommy really, he was kind of an old school type of actor, and just felt that maybe there was a little I don't want to say disrespect, but he was just like, when it comes to how they're billed in the films and probably the salaries as well, it's like you're kind of stealing my scene here a little bit. So the two had a little bit of tension going back and forth.
Well, I've read even further that Tommy just hated Jim. And like I can see in that, this was Jim Carrey at the time was, huge for, literally talking out his ass in Ace Ventura. And then he comes in here and he's this big, goofy personality. And I can't remember the quote exactly, but it was something like this. That there was a dinner one night and Jim Carrey walked into the restaurant where some of the other people were, and Tommy was at a table, and Jim wanted to join them and ended up having a discussion with Tommy. I think he was asking, why he didn't like him. And Tommy told him something about that he couldn't sanction his buffoonery.
Right.
And, just was not a fan.
Well, knowing Jim, he was probably ad-libbing every other take. And probably throwing him off because he was probably like,
he was being himself, probably.
Script. Oh, yeah.
He was like, I'm a comedian. This is who I am. Oh, you're a professional actor. I'm sorry. That's the life you live.
Well, yeah. I could just totally see, and maybe it's on part of the deleted scenes or, any extended cut where Jim Carrey just kind of just goes off on longer dialogue than what he was scripted for. And Tommy's like, well, I gotta get my lines in because this is my scene too, especially when Riddler comes into the hangout, that where Two-Face has sugar and spice, and he really makes an entrance as the Riddler for the first time. I could totally see him just being crazy,
taking over the scene. But that's who he was, or he is.
That's why he was hired.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why he fit the Riddler so perfectly. So, hey, Tommy Lee, relax, homie. You're good. You won.
You're good, boy. Yeah.
On the topic of Jim Carrey and Riddler, the next point on this list was that Robin Williams had turned down the role because he was denied an earlier role. So Robin Williams was one of the other people, maybe the first person that they wanted to have for Riddler. He turned it down because he had been considered to play Joker in Batman '89, but didn't get that role.
Man.
Whoa.
Can you imagine?
What?
Yeah. That would have been both of them would have been a different movie with him.
All right, cool. Can we AI that? And hey, ChatGPT, can you show me what a scene looked like as him as the Joker won it, or him as the Riddler? Wow.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Crazy, yeah. Point number 5 is the title of point 5 is that it wasn't Joel Schumacher's fault. So yeah, I guess this one's just about that. This wasn't the movie that Schumacher wanted to make. He wanted to make a darker movie. He had actually, allegedly, he had originally suggested that they do a prequel to Batman '89 and do Batman Year One, an adaptation of Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year One, but Warner Brothers didn't want it.
No, at this time, and this movie came out in 1995.
Yeah.
So you had 89, and then I think Returns was what, 91? 92.
Yeah.
So about 3 years between them. And this movie was a straight up commercial from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And, you could tell it was pretty much built as an advertisement to sell hamburgers and toys.
And that was in response to toy stores and places like McDonald's being unhappy with the first 2 Batman movies because they were too mature for them to successfully do toy cross promotions with.
Yeah, that makes sense, because this movie was just, even now, like watching it now, I was such at a child's level watching it. I'm watching it now as we're recording, because I'm like, it's like every scene's just put together to like pull kids. And I'm like,
yeah,
hey.
It's a totally different vibe. I mean, it's very bright. It's neon. Everything pops.
Yeah, it's a comic book. It was comic books before Frank Miller.
Oh yeah, definitely so.
Yeah, it was very campy. So that makes sense. And McDonald's wanted more campy.
Yeah.
Eat our fries.
Well, so the next point, I don't know if this leads to toy sales or not, but the next point is that while the tone of the movie was not Joel Schumacher's fault, that the nipples on the suits were. This says that Schumacher wanted the costumes to resemble the ancient statues of Greek gods, that included being as anatomically correct as a PG-13 movie could be, hence the tiny penises on the bat suit.
I love what they call it, the Panther suit, the all black suit that he wears.
Yeah,
but I could do without the nipples, but I love
the nipples and that shot sequence when they suit up. It's in this movie and in the next one.
Yeah,
where it's like all those close-up shots, and then there's one of the ass.
Yeah, the butt guard.
Yeah.
Well, to put Batman in the Greek god category, yeah, cool.
There are statues of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in those white ones with the gold accents on them that look like Batman looks like a Spartan.
Yeah, that's cool.
The theme works. The next point was that Val Kilmer was Bob Kane's favorite Batman.
Definitely see that.
I don't know how many people put too much stock in Bob Kane's opinions.
No comment.
If they know of the real genius of Mr. Bill Finger. The next point is, as much as Bob Kane loved Val Kilmer, some of the other actors that they had that Warner Brothers was interested in having were William Baldwin and also Alec Baldwin.
Whoa.
Both were wrapped up with other things, but they had apparently also considered Tom Hanks, Daniel Day-Lewis, Kurt Russell, Ethan Hawke, Ralph Fiennes, and Johnny Depp, allegedly.
Oh,
Now,
what?
I could totally see Daniel Day-Lewis being an awesome Batman.
Really, man. But it couldn't have been a movie like this, I don't think.
No.
He would have brought too much gravity
Yeah.
for the tone of this movie.
He would. Yeah, that would be a very dark movie.
Wow, what a list, though.
I know, Tom
What?
Hanks.
And then
Tom
it's
Hanks
the
is
same thing.
Batman?
That's what I would want to see.
What?
I have made fire.
Yeah, you can't travel with that guy. Like, I'm not going to jump in that Batmobile. Sorry. It was an accident.
It's funny.
The final point is the actors who didn't play Robin, but other actors who had either auditioned or were just straight offered the role over Chris O'Donnell. Leonardo DiCaprio, Marlon Wayans, who that goes back to Tim Burton was going to do Marlon Wayans as Robin, but also Matt Damon, Jude Law, Ewan McGregor, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, both of the Coreys, and back at the time, this would have been Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Mark Wahlberg.
Wow.
What?
But wasn't Marlon Wayans also paid not to be in this movie?
Oh, maybe.
I think he had a contract to
That's
do
possible.
the film.
Wow. What?
They got rid of him to make way for Marky Mark.
Can we have the
Batman.
what ifs in the
Two-Face killed
Batman
my
universe? Like AI, create these what ifs, please.
Well, the comics that came out, the Batman '89 series, they did do some of those things that
They definitely did.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They even had, they even had Billy D. Williams as Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they brought in Harley. And it was Joe Quinones illustrating those, and his style worked really well.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow, those are some. Those, yeah, definitely. Man, can you imagine Tom Hanks as Batman? I'm still stuck on that. But Robin Williams as Riddler would have been amazing. Amazing.
And Tom Hanks would have done great too. Tom Hanks is another one like Robin Williams who could play him.
Yeah.
Wait, they had Tom Hanks as Riddler or Batman?
No, as Batman.
As Batman.
Yeah.
Well, Leonardo DiCaprio is Robin. Yo.
He would probably be pretty good.
Yeah.
He goes into all his characters, so that'd be pretty enjoyable to watch. He probably would have been like, who knows? Like, these are top tier people you mentioned that could have these things. It's insane.
I'm just sad now that George Clooney got to be in the fourth film instead of Daniel Day-Lewis. Golly, that would have been amazing.
Robin Williams.
Well, very cool, very cool.
Yeah, I just figured that was a fun way to start. Now let's talk about the movie that was, and maybe some of our thoughts. Anything you want to lead off with, Gramps?
Well, I remember when there was a lot of discussion at the time, and of course this was all pre-internet, so everything heard about was on like you guys remember those TV shows like Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood?
Yeah, they're still there.
That. Yeah, and they would talk about how Val Kilmer has been cast as the next Batman, and I always remember thinking that makes sense because he was a guy. He was an A-list celebrity since Top Gun had came out in 86, 87. And then, he had a string of movies that, were just like amazing. He was on Top Gun. Okay. I'm looking at a list here. Top Gun, 86, Willow in 88, The Doors, one of my favorite all-time movies in 91. Tombstone, 93. And probably his most famous role is Doc Holliday. And then 95, he had Batman Forever, Heat, and Wings of Courage. But, you know, when they cast him in that role, I was just like, oh, I definitely see him as a Bruce Wayne. He looks like a Bruce Wayne, because I didn't ever think that Michael Keaton looked like a Bruce Wayne. And that's not to take any credit away from Michael Keaton, because he killed it when he got his shot. I mean, he killed it. He set the standard for the role. But I always wondered what it would have been like if Val Kilmer had been Batman in Batman 89.
Yeah, when he was
that
when he was
darker
younger.
tone. He was a little
Yeah.
younger. I always wonder what it would be like. And I was thinking about this the other day too, because if you remember, Michael Keaton also played a certain green-haired and white-painted face character called Beetlejuice, who was wild and crazy. And I was like, what if Michael Keaton had been cast as Joker and Kilmer had been
I
Batman?
think that all the time with him because of Beetlejuice. Same exact thought process, dude.
He could have been amazing. It's almost like I don't think we would have had Beetlejuice without Batman 89. Which movie came first? Beetlejuice came out in what movie? What time? 88. Okay, Beetlejuice came first. But man, just think of the possibilities there. That would have been amazing.
Would have been fun to watch. Would have been a little different.
That's another what if, you know.
Another what if, man. These what ifs, dude.
But I remember it was just kind of a big deal. Why wasn't Keaton coming back for the third film? Do you guys have any insight on reasons why, or remember anything about that?
I think I've seen that. Let me see what it was.
Did he not want to be in a movie with Robin, or is it because Tim Burton wasn't doing the directing?
It sounds like
creative differences with Joel Schumacher. He preferred the darker, more psychologically complex portrayal of Batman established in the Burton films, whereas the Schumacher movies were obviously going to be lighter and quite campy.
Okay, well,
it wasn't about that life.
Yeah,
and so that's a big choice to make, to sacrifice your lead to follow through with changing the direction of the tone.
no, Tim Burton was still one of the listed producers, but you know, I guess he just didn't want to do it either whenever the studio came with final screenplay. But I just remember that being such a big news story at the time, is Val Kilmer is now Batman. I was just like, wow, that's really cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah, for me, I was 9. Nothing mattered.
Oh.
I was like, oh, another Batman movie? Hell yeah, Dad, are we going? And you know, that's it. That's all I had. That and one of McDonald's and collecting the glasses. I also had the toys too for this too, because McDonald's had a chokehold on Batman in the 90s.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but they also had, you want to supersize? 39 cents. What? Add more fries, add more soda. Hello, diabetes.
I mean, going back and rewatching this movie now, obviously we can watch it now in a different light, but you know, I'm trying to remember how I viewed it when I was younger, when it first hit the theaters. And I just remember thinking, whoa, this is really different. This is not what I was expecting. Especially, you know, the opening scene, Batman's gearing up. He's putting on his gloves and getting all the various weapons and putting on the cape. And I'm like, wow, they're starting from the very beginning. Yeah. We're getting Batman from the very beginning.
And then boom, the Batmobile.
The Batmobile pops up, and I love that Batmobile. I love that Batmobile.
Sick.
it's the new Batmobile after the one got destroyed in Batman Returns. I was like, whoa, that's so sick. And then what's Batman's first line of the movie? I'll get drive-through. I was like, what?
Going to McDonald's.
Go to McDonald's.
And another thing at the beginning of this movie is, we have the one thing that didn't change is we have our long-standing Alfred returning for the third movie and continuing his long tradition of just willy-nilly letting whomever into the Batcave. Right off the beginning of this movie, he has let a whole different Bruce Wayne into the Batcave.
I mean, he's like a tour guide at this point.
Yeah.
And here's the Batcave.
If
You go another
right.
one. All right, cool. I'm kind of used to this. Yeah, all right, come on, guys, follow me.
Yeah, it was funny. Another thing was, we had Miss Nicole Kidman as the lead female actress, opposite of Val Kilmer as Dr. Chase Meridian. At the time, I was just like, they're just trying to bring back Vicky Vale in a way.
Yeah.
That's the way I saw that role. Is they're just maybe what's her name wasn't available or didn't want to do it, but it just was funny to me how the leads in the Batman films at that time all been blondes. Strikingly beautiful blondes. I was like, well, Batman's got a type here.
Then I think also like that time period, it was just like if you want to have anyone attractive, they had to be a blonde in a movie. Like in most movies, it was just throwing blondes in our face over and over again.
Yeah.
Because like you also had like Baywatch when that time period. So you had like Pamela Anderson just running on the beach. Yeah. That was dangerous for my 9-year-old ass.
And one thing I did love, I remember seeing it in the theaters when Batman makes his first entrance. I guess Harvey Dent, Two-Face, is robbing a bank in the opening, one of the opening scenes, and he just comes swooping down, and first thing she says is, "Hot entrance." It's like, wow, they've got some one-liners in this movie already.
And it is just high level campiness right from the start, like that whole scene. So you've got that I don't know who the guy is that played the security guard at the bank, whatever, the guy that got locked in the in the vault there.
Right.
Let's forget about how gullible this Batman is. He sees the guy, tied up in the vault, just springs right in there and pulls the tape off the guy's mouth. And the guy tells him it's a trap. Like, well, yeah, you should have seen that it was a trap. But that guy acted so hard in that scene. Like he gave it his all. And
he did.
What his most famous line, I think, is, "Oh no, it's boiling acid." Why did the acid have to be boiling? Because I think just regular acid is going to do the same.
Exactly. I love the fact that I don't know if you caught it, but the getaway helicopter had like a car steering wheel. Go back and watch that.
How do you drive? How do you drive your helicopter?
I have to look for this now. Really?
Yes, he had a steering wheel.
This is why I gotta pay attention more to these movies, because it's like.
And I love how when Batman cuts the chain, I mean, it swings just perfectly into place.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
man, this
of
is
course.
Like craziest stuff. Do you see it?
But find that does it have a stick shift too?
I'm not gonna find it.
Rear view mirror.
I'm like I'm between Jim Carrey becoming the villain and
I thought you were just looking up a picture or something. You're actually
I'm searching through the movie right now. On HBO Max, guys. No affiliation, but HBO Max currently has all the Batman movies if you want to watch them.
The one thing that I always think about with this movie, though, is the the way the story was, they did a serviceable job of giving us the reason why Riddler and Two-Face would have joined forces. That was a plausible enough thing. But the way that all the characters were played in this, because of the time it was, everything was so big. Like, you've got Jim Carrey, who back at that time, there wasn't going to be any other performance from him, but he was playing Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones playing Two-Face. They were both playing those characters as if they were Joker. They were big and loud and flashy and crazy, and that's not how the characters are. But that's how everything was back at that time. So, but imagine now the landscape of comic book movies now, where characters other than Batman are allowed to be nuanced and have subtleties, and the villains just couldn't be. They were just big and nuts, and
right.
It would be nice to see this story done now.
Dude, that's a concept, because, as you said, like back then, all these characters had to be loud. They were like, it was a center of attention. It was like an ego thing. It was also a sign of the times. To do this now, oh man, what a different movie! How dark it could be.
It was crazy because I was watching certain scenes, and you mentioned how it wasn't Schumacher's choice to make this as bright and campy as a lot of the scenes were, because there were certain I'm thinking back to when Bruce Wayne comes into Chase Meridian's office. He's received the second riddle from Riddler that he put on the gates of Wayne Manor, and he comes in and he's talking, and he's like, I've got this person leaving these messages to me, and what's your thoughts on that? And that whole scene right there, it's not campy at all. It's very serious, and I'm like, they're really going for it as far as delivering what Schumacher really wanted in that one scene, where this could be an edgier movie and not so lighthearted. And there's a couple of scenes like that where it's more so when he's Bruce Wayne, because I think Val gives a performance there as Bruce Wayne where, he's, and it's part of that deleted scene too, where he blames himself for his parents' death, and he gives a performance there that really shows how broken his psyche is. So
his performance is definitely there, but there are multiple times where I think that the writing just did a disservice to Bruce Wayne's intelligence. And that scene where he's in Chase's office and he looks at the Rorschach on the wall and says, "You've got a thing for bats," and she explains what a Rorschach test is to him. Like, Bruce Wayne knows what a Rorschach test is. Like, why are we writing him this way? Come on.
Well, he knows, but he doesn't want her to know that he knows.
It's plausible, but I don't know. That was just one of the examples of that them kind of playing him for not as intelligent as he needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. He did come across, there were times when, like, he's walking through the Wayne research department, and also at times at the Edward Nygma Tech ball, where his Bruce Wayne is more of an elitist. He gives off that performance where his Bruce he is that stuck up billionaire CEO guy that you love to hate. He's not the
he could walk into whatever room he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. He's not Keaton's Bruce Wayne at all. That was a little neurotic and on the edge at times. Just kind of trying to still find his way around what he's doing. That's the way I saw Keaton's Bruce Wayne. You know, there were times when he was just like, you know, you didn't know, he didn't give off that air of, um, being a snob, or you couldn't tell that he was a rich guy.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer is Bruce Wayne. You can tell he's a rich guy.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne had maybe a touch of Woody Allen to him.
Yeah, exactly. Fair point.
We have to talk about, well, two things we have to talk. One thing, we have to mention the karate laundry.
Karate laundry. Yes, I wrote that in my notes too.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will leave that point for you to do with it what you wanted to. But you probably have this too. You know, being a music guy as well, you have to talk about the soundtrack of this movie. I remember the soundtrack of this movie being the soundtrack of that summer.
Oh yeah, what was it? Kiss from a Rose. I mean, you could not turn
Seal.
on FM radio without Seal's Kiss from a Rose
Was
and
everywhere.
U2.
Yeah,
That's
Me,
still
Kiss Me,
everywhere.
Thrill Me. Yeah, those two songs made careers. Those two songs right there paid mortgages for sure.
And divorces.
And
Yeah,
probably Seals. But Seal even had that. There was the movie themed music video for Kiss from a Rose.
oh yeah.
Had all the bat signals and clips from the movie.
It was huge.
Yeah.
That was like on the top 10 of TRL for God knows how long.
I mean, when you think of Seal, you think of that song. I mean, that is his.
I don't know anything
signature
else he's
song.
worked on.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else he's worked on besides that song.
Oh, I know a
Robin's
bunch of
a big
other
Seal fan.
songs.
Yeah,
There's
Robin's a big
there's
Seal
a lot of good Seal stuff, but
I'm sure there's more,
that,
but that's all I can think about.
Yeah. But yeah, that is definitely a big one.
I'm reading here where selling that soundtrack sold almost as many copies as Prince's soundtrack to the '89 film. So
I bought the single on CD. I remember I bought the actual single for like I don't know, it was like $4.50 or whatever. You just buy the one thing, and it was worth it because man, I played the shit out of that song.
all right, what else we got in our notes here? Oh, go hit Karate Laundry.
Yeah,
Karate Laundry. What a scene for Alfred to witness,
man.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's how I started doing my laundry now.
Until the injury.
Yeah, since my dryer stopped working, I think I'm the watch that scene a couple of more times to help me out and dry my laundry because it takes like 2 days if you air dry it. If I could do that,
well,
it probably take like
my friend
3 or 4 hours.
That may have something to do with the fact that your pants are 7 feet long.
Well, yeah, a lot more fabric. Yes, it's definitely an issue. But if I use those techniques, maybe I could cut it off like, I don't know, 50% of the time.
I don't know why no one's ever thought of opening up like a karate dojo / laundromat and just calling it Karate Laundry. Get your laundry done while you get a karate lesson or so.
Dick's Karate Laundry.
I don't even know if I want to go there, dude, because I like one, it would hurt, and two, like I want to do my laundry there.
I did like maybe it was before that scene, but I did like is his name Michael Gough, who plays Alfred, or Guff?
Michael Guff, whatever. I doubt he's listening.
Well, I know.
Well,
but he is the OG of
Hot Dog, yeah.
Alfred.
Yeah.
I mean, his performance was always top notch, and just the way he delivered his lines, it's almost like they gave him the best lines of every movie. And there was one time,
he's a fan of his zingers.
Yeah, I remember Richard Grayson had just moved into Wayne Manor. He was going to leave, and then Bruce says, "Hey, before you leave, why don't we fill your motorcycle up with some gas?" And gets him to go into the garage where he sees that, oh, Bruce knows motorcycles because he's got a whole bunch of them and
Yeah,
some
like
awesome,
historic ones.
yeah, historic ones. And Alfred comes in with like this big hamburger that has like an onion ring on it. I was like, oh, that's probably from McDonald's. But then later on, he's helping him move in, and he notices his riding helmet, and it has like this red robin bird painted on it. And Richard tells how there was one time he saved his brother, on the swinging rope, circus ropes, and his dad says that he swung in like a robin and saved his brother. He was his hero. And, of course, Grayson doesn't want to hear about it. And, he's still mad and upset about his parents' death and his family's death. And I love the line where Alfred says to him, broken wings mend in time. One day Robin will fly again, I promise. I was like, that is such an awesome line.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi line.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bar. You
and
can put that in a freestyle.
And I just want to touch on, so it doesn't sound like I was making light when I said he's probably not listening. I did look it up, and Michael Gove did pass back in 2011. So we did lose him. But yeah, he was, there won't be another Alfred like him.
No way. Rest in peace.
No, not even close, dude.
Yeah.
That dude, he crushed it.
I give him a lot of shit for letting everyone into the Batcave, but he
He wasn't moving as fast. It's perfectly fine, dude. It's okay.
So, Robin, talk about some of these deleted scenes that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. So there is a thing called the Schumacher cut, similar to the Snyder cut. But this is one that has not been released, but allegedly Kevin Smith owns a copy of the Schumacher cut. Now, the information that can be found about the Schumacher cut is that it includes around 40 minutes of additional footage. And I think some of it is also different takes of scenes than what were in the original, but roughly 40 minutes of extra content. And that does include, for anyone watching the video version, this scene here, where you've got, it looks like it has to be part of Bruce's sort of nightmare sequence where he's seeing the death of his parents, and he comes face to face with this giant size man bat looking bat as part of his nightmare. And getting to see this in the final movie, it must have looked so cool seeing it actually in action in the movie. All of the prosthetic work in this movie was done by Rick Baker, so that would have just been a very cool scene to have in the final.
I mean, it's a shame that we didn't get that in the theatrical version, but I can see why they would cut it, because I mean, it looks like straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah, but look at it, dude. It like,
think of how much money they spent on making that bat and not put that scene in the movie. That's terrible.
Especially back in the 90s, that they were like, they're like, this cost us $15,000. God damn it. Like, just losing their minds. And like, look how, like, we're talking about it. Like, what a great scene that could have added a little more, like his nightmare or him, fighting or trying to be a bat after that. But still, like, imagine like after this actually having like a man bat in the movie.
I wonder if this was kind of part of or directly referenced to in Batman v Superman. When he goes to the the grave site or to his parents, and that thing comes out,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's kind of an homage to that. I loved how in this movie there were some almost scene by scene nods to 89. There were so many that it was just like, okay, kind of getting obvious here.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about Batman movies. I love the nods, and we talked about it before we recorded, but got to bring it back. Just the the bat plane and the moon, and just a thumbs up with with the entire neck moving aside, because like
And
that's the
even
only
like
way you can function in a Batman mask.
even at the Nigma Tech party, when Nigma approaches Chase Marine and says, "Shall we dance?" Just like
Yeah,
how Joker did. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
those are the things that should continue to get like carried over to most Batman movies. Like those nods that they're like as corny as they are, it's something that's like needed for like the Bat fan to be like, oh wow, oh yeah, that came from this. And,
It's almost like,
those little Easter eggs.
well, yeah, it's almost so signature now that it's kind of like in every James Bond, James.
What are you
course,
watching, dude? The Indian version?
That's the Timu version.
I'm talking like a Canadian now.
We already have James Bond at home.
Every James Bond movie, he has to say his name, Bond, James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has to order his martini the same way. It's it's a must. If it's not there, it's not a James Bond movie.
Exactly.
One thing that was cut was apparently the original ending also called back to the previous movies where we would have seen Batman and Robin standing on the roof of a skyscraper with the bat signal in the background.
Mm.
Oh,
So just
man,
like
really?
how 89 ended with the bat signal in the sky, and our friend Carl Newman in the bat suit standing on the building. And then I think Batman Returns was Catwoman, right?
Yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman standing.
That'd have been a great ending with Robin, like because like it's like the 1st time you actually bring like Robin out.
But instead, they decided to have them run up the camera in front of a mysterious bat signal. I don't know where that was placed.
Yes, that'd be that's like, isn't it like the Batman 66? Where like they're running towards a thing and the Batman so you go like spinning behind them. There's a homage there, I guess. That's cool.
Well, they did have Robin get rid of that big round bomb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys discuss,
some days you can't get rid of a bomb?
Did you guys discuss meeting Val?
I actually met him.
Oh, lucky, dude.
This was, well, listen to the story. This was back probably before 2010, when I was still kind of sort of semi on the road with bands playing on the road. And we played in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Shreveport is right on the border between Texas and Louisiana, and they have some riverboat casinos there. They have kind of, it's almost like a miniature version of Las Vegas. They've got these hotels and these casinos that legally they have to be on the water there to allow the gambling, but they're connected to the hotels. And before we were supposed to play, we went to this bar and we were just hanging out, and we noticed these guys sitting kind of close to the front of the bar or tavern in this booth right next to the front door. And we were like, yo, that's 50 Cent. And we were arguing back and forth going, is that 50 Cent? I'm like, I don't know. That looks like 50 Cent. Maybe, no, surely it can't be. So we closed our tabs and we're walking out, and we walked by. It sure enough was. It was 50 Cent, and he was sitting kind of in the middle of these two guys. And we were like starstruck, and we're like, yo, talking to him. And these guys were just kind of sitting there and smiling and, not saying anything. And then 50 kind of realized that all the attention was on him, and he was like, hey, do you know my friend Val? And I looked over and I didn't even recognize him. This is sad. I didn't even recognize him because I don't know. It was at the time in his life where he had gained a lot of weight and he didn't even look like himself.
Because of his throat stuff, right?
Yeah, his throat cancer, I guess the steroid medicine that he was on. And this was a guy that had been in some of my favorite movies of all time. Like I said, The Doors is one of my favorite films of all time. Tombstone. I didn't even recognize him until they said his name. And then I was like, oh my God. And he was super nice, super cool. They were there filming a movie that was supposed to be about these detectives, like kind of in the 80s. So that's why they were using these old riverboat casinos. They wanted that older casino look.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we're shooting tonight later on.
That's sick, dude.
It was
You meant
cool.
50 and Val.
I know.
You meant 50, dude.
I don't even know if the movie even came out, but
I'm ready for a whole different podcast. When
yeah,
50?
He was super cool too, man. Both of them really cool guys, and he just so random. But
that's sick.
Yeah, we didn't bother to ask him for autographs or anything like that. We were just, just letting them enjoy their time, downtime between shooting, because they said that they were going to be shooting all night. And yeah, it was just, kind of random.
Yeah, I had a missed opportunity, complete missed opportunity, but I gained one instead of the other. I just got back into comic books about like 2017, 2018. There was a Comic-Con in Jersey. I forgot the name of it. That year, I remember George Perez and Jim Starlin were like the main attraction because of Infinity Wars or whatever. But I went there because Kevin Conroy was there. And I was like, holy shit, I got finally get to meet Kevin Conroy. And also Val Kilmer was there. And I was like, I'm getting into this. I'm broke. I don't know what collecting is. I'm learning about Comic-Cons. So it's like, all right, cool. I got $30 to me for $50. I get a picture of Kevin Conroy and him to sign a book. Or I go to Val Kilmer. I think it was like $120. I'm like, bro, I don't have $120. I'm gonna meet my Batman, and I went to Kevin Conroy, of course, and I had that experience, which is sick because it's Kevin Conroy. Like, what the hell? But I was like, yo, I'll get to meet Val Kilmer eventually. And man, it hurts when you say that to yourself and you don't get a chance to meet them.
Yeah,
it's like I was that close, and even like when Conroy passed away, I was like, I could have met him again, and I was like, what a missed opportunity. So for those of you guys out there, if you have an opportunity to meet someone, just do it, because you don't know. You have no idea.
Yeah,
don't miss that opportunity.
Definitely.
Now, Gramps, I know you've talked about what you believe to be the greatest performances of Val Kilmer's career. But if we want to talk about the real greatest performance of his career,
here we go.
It took place in a single episode of a Ricky Gervais series called Life's Too Short. That was a series for a couple of seasons that starred Warwick Davis as himself. And yeah, you guys have seen the scene. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, look up Life's Too Short. If you search Val Kilmer, then it'll give you the scene. It's outstanding. So Warwick Davis, he's himself, and having worked with Val Kilmer, they were still friends. And Warwick Davis brings Val Kilmer to his office and has him meet his secretary. And he comes in wearing the cowl. And Warwick gives him this big introduction. Tells her she's going to be so excited about who's here. And then she can't figure out who it is under the cowl. Keeps thinking it's George Clooney.
It was like, George
Wait,
Clooney.
I remember this. I've seen that. That was a
Is it George
great
Clooney?
skit.
I really love George Clooney. Like it's not George Clooney, and he takes off the cowl, and she still doesn't know who he is.
She's like, "Are you an actor?"
is it the cartoon one? But does he look like a cartoon? He's a real man.
Yeah, that is hysterical. Yeah, I remember seeing that. That is a funny scene. So, guys, definitely look that one up. That's a great laugh.
I mean, you know, Kilmer, he was such an awesome dude that he would even, make fun of himself as the forgotten Batman in a way, oh man, that clip is so funny. So
good.
funny.
Such a good sport.
And the whole show is full of things like that. So if you watch that scene and like that, then the whole show is like that. There's so many guest appearances on there, and it's always like that. Like Liam Neeson was in there. He was Ra's al Ghul later. Steve Carell was in there. Yeah, just so many people showed up.
At the end of the day, if you played Batman and you could make fun of yourself, you played Batman.
Yeah.
You win. Sorry. Make fun of yourself all you want because you played a role that a lot of people don't dare to play.
Yeah. I mean, even Clooney kind of had a little laugh at himself in the Flash movie, because it was kind of cool that they brought him back to be Bruce Wayne there at the end. Just kind of
that was a great random end to that movie because that movie was like, it wasn't the best, but it had some cameos where it was like, oh, all right, cool, that's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, some people had some problems with that. I thought it was great. I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I still do. I'll watch it from time to time when I'm bored.
And just like Batman Forever, if it's on the TV, I'll watch it. I mean, even is it perfect? No, but there's not,
dude.
Movie. But
we spoke about this before, but I put Batman Forever up there similar to like Batman Begins, where like in the sense of like Batman Begins is one of my favorite movies, but Batman Forever is playing, I stop what I'm doing and watch it.
When he's doing Batman stuff in this movie, like the fight scenes, he's kicking ass. In the car, I love the car scenes.
Dude, when Robin steals the car.
Yeah, he goes hot rodding in the car and tells all these girls, "Yo, I'm Batman."
It's like, who wouldn't try to do that if you had access to it?
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, all right, cool, he's one of us. One of us. One of us.
I like when Alfred calls Bruce to tell him, that something happened. And he's like, he boosted the Jag? No, the other car. Like, the Rolls Royce? No, the other car.
And then he's like, oh, crap, I gotta go.
Yeah.
So many fun parts of this movie. And it's like, it feels like you can't, there's so many good parts of this movie you can't put in current movies because there's a certain Batman that we look forward to now. And I don't think you can make it as fun as this was.
Well, and like really, Batman isn't meant to be, right? And that's one of the heartening things that I've read from James Gunn is that he has no interest in a silly Batman. It seems that whatever he comes up with for his universe as Batman, that there will be no silly to it, which I'm all for.
Which makes sense. Of course, like right after Frank Miller's run, it's like, all right, whoa, that's a serious Batman. That's pretty freaking awesome. Like, coming from the dark and living whatever life he's lived with his parents dying, all that stuff, and it's like trying to make all this a positive. Yeah, you should be dark as fuck. I'm sorry, like it sucks.
And we can make fun of this movie, for the silliness that's in it, but hey, it only got worse than the next one. Yeah, at least this one they didn't have skates come out of their boots.
Well, I mean, there's a line that Chase Meridian says to him where she talks about, he's basically he's trying to, put some moves on her, but he understands that she actually likes Batman,
Yeah.
as
And
what
then that's
typically happens in superhero movies. But she says something to the point where she's like, he's interesting to me because he basically takes on this role, and what kind of person has to feel like he's taking on this penance on himself, where he has to deal with this constant darkness and pain, and that's where she's really attracted to understanding that psyche. And there are some aspects, with the psychological study of Batman in this movie that are interesting. I think there's certain points of it that come up in that book, Batman and Psychology.
I still haven't finished it. I started it and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, this movie touches on some of those darker elements that we actually can see just in his facial expression and his performance, where you're like, Batman is not a silly man, and he may put on this mask of being an elitist rich guy, and he's not someone you really want to mess with, because that man's carrying some demons, and there's a reason why he's going out there and doing this stuff every night. We get to see a little bit of that in this movie, just a touch, just enough to keep a more mature audience interested, but also the Batman side. This movie is definitely geared towards children and the commercial aspect, but I could still go back and watch this and get my fix with seeing a darker Batman, especially when he's busting up some of these gang members in some scenes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%, man. He shows his Batman is lifestyle in this. Although it could be campy at times, for the most part, you see him kicking some ass, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah,
when you watch
some
Batman.
of the dialogue is campy, but
Yeah.
the action scenes, they're there. That's why I can still go back, like you said, and watch this film.
Yep.
the part, what you were just saying there about the wearing the mask and all that reminded me of the Ben Stein scene in a different Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, where he's talking about the wearing of masks and what that represents. But I only wanted to bring that connection up because The Mask, created by our boy Doug Mankey.
Yes, sir.
Co-created by Doug Mankey. Cool little connection there. But you mentioned the scene where Chase is telling Bruce that, thanks, but no thanks, because there's someone else. I met someone.
Right.
But then later on, by the time she, gets that opportunity with Batman, now she's telling him, no, there's someone else. And now she's talking about Bruce.
And he does that little smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little smirk comes out of nowhere. It's like, if you only knew, lady. If you only knew.
I think I think that covers all of the points that we need to cover. If there's anything that we've missed, hit us in the comments, or send us awful emails, whatever you want to do. Tell us what we missed, what we got wrong. If there's anything else, we went through that list of 10 things. We talked about some of the deleted scenes. If there's something else that you thought we should know about or we should have talked about, tell us about it.
Thanks for listening to Bat Force Radio.
R.I.P. Val Kilmer.
Yeah. Bad one to lose, but a lot to look back on, and some of us have stories like Gramps did, and that's another thing. If you've got a Val Kilmer story, tell us that too.
I mean,
sure.
I was watching Tombstone literally on the night he passed away. This is this is weird. This is weird. It's like synchronicity. I was watching Tombstone, and I even put like some Instagram stories of my favorite scenes when he was about to kill Johnny Ringo. because it's just such a epic scene where, you know, Johnny Ringo's trying to get out of having to do a duel with Doc Holliday. And he's like, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. And Doc Holliday was like, well, I wasn't. And I was like, oh my gosh. He's got, I mean, that is
It's bars.
bars out of
His
it. I mean,
one-liners just be like, man.
one-liners. Yeah. I loved it. And it was just kind of crazy because I was watching it that night. And then in the morning, I literally opened Instagram and there was our Bat Force story that he had passed away. And I was like, that is insane.
It's like when this happens, and it happened with Kevin Conroy as well. I just woke up and I turn my TV on when I get to my living room, and it just puts me right into the news. And that morning, I turned it on, and it was like, it felt like a movie because it's like, you know, it's the news you want to hear immediately. And it was like, Val Kilmer passed away last night. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't get the weather before this. I don't get like a warm up or anything. What I get was another Batman passed away. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like shit. Then I was pissed at myself because I had the opportunity to meet him and I didn't.
Well,
And
I
it's
mean,
like
he was an iconic actor. I mean,
yeah.
the roles that he played, you know, in the early 80s up to the 90s.
He crushed everything. An amazing
Yeah.
actor. And I was just mad at myself because I didn't think it was that important at the time, and I could have met him, and it's like me beating myself, like fuck, I could have met Val Kilmer, like shit, and I didn't. And so now that's where I'm at in life, where like, oh no, if I have opportunity, I'm gonna meet people that were part of the movies and stuff that I watched growing up and all that stuff, because you don't know anymore. All right, next Batman dude that's at a con, I gotta make sure I'm there.
This makes me want to watch his 2021 documentary just called Val, where he basically just goes through his career and life.
What's it on?
I don't know. I think it was released on Amazon. So if you have Amazon, it's on there. Prime.
Definitely gotta check it out.
Yeah.
That was a difficult one. Even like before I watches, he's talking to Alfred on his watch.
Yeah.
Like what a scene of the future.
Yeah, ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Well, there's also in that scene in the first bank robbery where he comes up out of the elevator. You know, they shoot through the elevator thinking they got him. I was like, Batman's not going to just ride the elevator and just come up and laugh. But they shoot the doors and then they look inside and then he comes out and he hits some guy with like some kind of like taser and it shocks him up. And I was like, dude, I literally spent 6 hours playing Arkham Knight today shooting dudes with tasers. That's where they got the idea for that. That's so amazing.
And my favorite part of it is as soon as that one guy gets hit with the taser, and every time it cuts back to him for the rest of that scene, all you hear in the background, you know, that slapsticky sound that every time he's back on the screen again, you hear that.
They need that in the game.
No, they don't.
Well, they need the Val Kilmer skin in the game.
Oh, did they not do a Val Kilmer skin?
No, he's literally like forgotten about in most of the
Well,
Batman mythos.
Oddly enough,
it's got to be because of the nipples.
It's definitely the nips. But oddly enough, when he passed away, his Hot Wheels Batmobile was out, and I picked up a few at Walmart. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit,
I
I don't have
mean,
this one. Like, what a perfect timing. I mean, that sucks. He just passed away, and his Hot Wheels out.
No, what's crazy is like recently, like this whole run of like the smaller, like 4-inch figures from Batman Forever have been coming out.
Yeah,
A whole line of them, and a Batmobile.
yeah.
So it's just odd timing, but you know that's the way the universe works. But I think that's going to wrap it up here for our Val Kilmer tribute. We lost a legend, one of our favorite actors. Definitely, if you haven't in a while, go watch Batman Forever. It's a fun watch.
It's on Max. Check it out, guys. I'm
Check
watching
it
it for
out.
the third time this week.
Joel Schumacher, it was nothing personal. You know.
Like Robin said, leave us a comment, give us a like, tell us what your thoughts are on the movie, on Val. We'd love to hear from you guys. And thanks for listening. That's Bat Force Radio.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.